Hi everyone, I wanted to put together this video blog to share my experience about how the game of hockey has transformed my life. I appreciate you watching, I hope you enjoy this. It's about 15 minutes long and has a lot of great information. Starting in October of 2016, so just under 2 years ago, I found myself in both a life and career depression. I deeply regretted a career move that I made by resigning from a management role that I had from a great company. Afterwards, I started to feel unhappy, lonely, and gave off a negative vibe or personality to everyone that not even myself enjoyed. And it was because I was stuck in a rut. My daily routine consisted of waking up, eating breakfast, going to work, coming home, watching TV, making dinner or grabbing something quick, generally by myself, and then going to bed. Rinse and repeat. I did this day in and day out. I generally had nothing to look forward to except perhaps the occasional FaceTime date with distant friends and family. In October 2017, I decided to reach out to my company's employee assistance program to see what options were available to seek counseling and advice. And in early October, I began seeing a counselor. Sessions progressed weekly, and in November, my counselor asked me if I had any hobbies. I thought to myself, no, I sure don't. This really surprised me because as I grew up, computers were my hobby. I really enjoyed computers, but in my late teens and into my early 20s, I really phased out of that. She then asked me if there were any sports that I was passionate about. I said hockey, of course. I've always loved going to hockey games and watching it on TV. In fact, it's one of the only sports that I will watch on TV. She then posed the next question, have you ever considered playing hockey? Of course I laughed. Me? Skate? Play hockey? There's no way. But she had a point. So, since I had no skating experience, I looked to soccer. It was very similar to hockey, but on a field. You didn't need skating experience, and the general fundamental of the game was very similar. To my surprise, I could not find any adult soccer leagues around town. So fast forward, and after some self-exploration, I really wanted to challenge myself. Why, you ask? As we all do, we fail at things. I've tried many diet and exercise programs to only find out that I absolutely hate the gym. A lot of people do. Some people are born to love it. And in addition, in April 2017, I decided that I wanted to become a police officer. I have a lot of friends that are in law enforcement and they really enjoy it. And I figured I wanted to be a part of that. So after months and months of training, physical training, endurance training, I almost tested to become a cop, but I phased out of that as well. I still don't know why. I think a lot of it had to do with the media attention that were on law enforcement at the time. I didn't think it was a good opportunity for me to get into law enforcement at that particular time. The door is not closed. I may explore that career again someday, but at that time, because of all the media attention, I decided that it just wasn't a good time. Therefore, I really wanted to aim high and succeed at something significant, at least significant for me. I eventually located the Greater Seattle Hockey League and submitted a new player application. I was immediately connected with a team manager, Wendy Thomas of Letterkenny Irish. She even invited me out to play a game that week. But I've never ice skated. I've never played hockey. I didn't even own any hockey gear, so I had to pump the brakes a little bit. A few weeks later, I sprung up off the couch and decided to give ice skating a try. I had nothing to lose. I had no idea what to expect. I threw on some sweats and went down to Kent Valley Ice Center for a public skate session. To my surprise, I didn't do half bad. I could skate some laps around the rink without much trouble. And these public sessions continued almost daily to help build upon my skating skills. A few weeks later, I decided to hire an ice skating and hockey trainer named Molly. Molly is a former forward of the University of Wisconsin's women's ice hockey team. University of Wisconsin develops women athletes that are at the Olympic level, so I knew that this time with Molly would be very critical. All throughout December and January, I was training with Molly typically twice a week at the hefty price tag of $80 per hour, plus $15 for the 1 hour block of ice time, $95 for an hour. However, I was motivated to make a very significant self-investment. My ultimate goal of training with Molly was to develop my skating skills, as well as learn hockey stops, transitions, crossovers, backward skating, and other maneuvers that you need to be successful in ice hockey. Right before Christmas time, and with the generous help of my parents, I started acquiring all of my hockey gear. Hockey gear is a very significant investment by itself, to the tune of a couple $1,000s. You need a lot of equipment to play hockey because you're on a solid surface with a solid object. So there's a lot of protective equipment that goes into a player, such as your helmet, also known as a bucket, the cage that protects your face from the puck, as well as shoulder pads, elbow pads, hockey pants, shin guards, ice skates, skate socks, hockey socks, mouth guard, among several other things such as water bottles and towels. While on a cruise over New Year's, I came across a learn to play hockey class and immediately enrolled in it to the tune of $420. This was another very significant investment in my development. It was a weekly class that met every Sunday over the course of 3.5 months and provided 3 on-ice coaches. We learned the basic fundamentals of hockey, such as skating, shooting, passing, rules, and other techniques. A few weeks later, about a week later, on January 12th, I played my first unofficial game, often called a drop-in or pickup game. If you're unfamiliar with those terms, think scrimmage. I was very clearly the newest player on the ice, and subsequently quite nervous, scared, and intimidated. I constantly kept seeking self-confidence by reaching out to coaches that I have met to see if they thought a pickup game would be a good opportunity for me. And all of them said, just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. So I did. And ultimately I had a ton of fun, received a lot of coaching and feedback, and met great people who I still connect with to this day. Here's a couple pictures of me in my first game. You can tell that I'm very new by the way I'm standing. I didn't quite have the hockey stance down all the way, but I had it a little bit. I eventually reconnected with Wendy, and I wanted to meet the Letterkenny Irish team. A few days later, I went down to Accessio Shower Center, where the Seattle Thunderbirds play, to meet Wendy and the rest of the team. I felt ready to play my first official regulation game. And for those unfamiliar with what that means, a regulation game is where there are referees, a scorekeeper, and all traditional rules of ice hockey are in play. I played my very first game with Letterkenny Irish around January 31st. The last thing that Wendy said to me before we walked onto the ice was, "Don't get hurt and have fun." And I absolutely had a great time. The funny thing is I knew the general rules of ice hockey, but there are little inner working rules that maybe not everybody knows about. In this case, there were 2 rules that I had no idea about, which is offsides and icing. All throughout the game, I continuously went offsides. This is when I entered the offensive or attacking zone prior to the puck. The puck has to enter the zone before any offensive players can enter the zone. So I would just skate into the offensive team's zone without any care in the world. I had no idea what offsides meant. In addition, I would ice the puck if the puck was in our defensive zone. This is where you just kick the puck out of your zone and ice it down the ice. The puck can only be iced if you're on the other side of the blue line. Many of our players tried to explain what offsides were and icing was while we were sitting on the bench during the game, but I was so overwhelmed with everything that was going on that none of it made any sense to me. At the end of the game, during the good game handshake, one of the other players actually started laughing at me. It was a little embarrassing, but I moved on. I brushed off the players' laughter, I went home, and immediately learned what offsides and icing was. I continued to play games with Letterkenny each week that a spot was open. However, 1 game a week didn't feel like enough to me. I wanted more games and I wanted to meet more people. On February 13th, I joined a second team, the Trash Pandas. Trash Pandas were a brand new team formed from GSHL's most recent Learn to Play Hockey class, similarly to what I was enrolled in. The skill level was quite appropriate for my level since Letterkenny was a slightly more advanced team, generally with 2 or more years experience. I needed a team that was brand new, just like I was. And I even followed offsides and icing rules. Here's a picture from my 3rd game with the Trash Pandas. This was the first game that we had our jerseys made for us. Through February, March, and April, I continued with my Learn to Play on Sunday mornings, and I also played with the Trash Pandas and Letterkenny Irish on Sunday evenings. I also began attending GSHL practice sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I simply could not get enough ice time. I wanted more. As is standard with most new hockey teams and any new team in general, the Trash Pandas were no exception. We lost each of our games for most of the fall and winter season. However, in the end, just before playoffs, we started to turn things around and learn how to work together as a team. On February 25th, we secured our first win, 7-4, against Iced Awesome. Unfortunately, going into the playoffs, I hadn't played enough regular season games with Letterkenny to be playoff eligible. However, I was eligible with Trash Pandas. Trash Pandas won our first playoff game 6-2 against the Monarchs. We lost our second game 2-10. Let me back up. We won our first game in the playoff series 6-2 against the Monarchs. We lost our second game 2-10 against an undefeated team, the Growlers. After our first loss in the playoff series, we immediately turned it around. In Game 3, we won 4-3 in overtime with an outlet pass by me, giving fellow teammate Eric Berger a breakaway game-winning goal. In Game 4, we won 7-1 against Iced Awesome. In Game 5, a potential elimination game, we won, with me scoring my very first goal against the Growlers, forcing a Game 3 for a best-of-3 game. My goal was not the game-winning goal, but it was a goal nonetheless to bring us to that 5-4 win that ultimately would have led to an overtime tiebreaker. Sadly, in Game 6, we lost 2-6 with a pretty significant injury to myself, thus ending our playoff series run. But Trash Pandas clinched 2nd place in the division. Not bad for a brand new team of all brand new players. We were very proud of ourselves, for sure. Towards the end of the playoff season, I met Andy Cole, president of Greater Seattle Hockey League. I wanted to get involved in the league by helping Andy out because I could see that he needed some help in several areas. I started designing and developing brochures and business cards that were eventually distributed around all of the playing arenas that GSHL conducts games, as well as revamping the league's website. And as time continued on, I became more involved in things around the league, such as managing larger scopes of projects, marketing to new players, assisting with evaluation skates, putting together the player drafts, and helping with the formation of new teams. Speaking of formation, with the success of Trash Pandas' first season, friends of players, including friends of me, and new players in general, all wanted to join the Trash Pandas, and it wasn't too long until our single team roster had swelled so large that we had to branch the teams apart into 2 separate franchises, with one team advancing to Division 6D and eventually advancing again a couple weeks later to 6C, and the other half of the team in Division 7. After about a month and a half between fall and winter season and the start of spring and summer season, I worked tirelessly on forming the perfect Division 6 and 7 teams. I recruited several new players for my Learn to Play Hockey class at various stick and pucks and through the league's player draft. I was even elected as alternate captain of the 6C team, and I have this A on my jersey to signify that I am the alternate captain. It's pretty cool and quite a responsibility. With the franchising of the Trash Pandas, it turns out that I had a pretty significant influence on a former high school classmate's decision to get involved in hockey as well. We sat next to each other at Seattle Thunderbirds games, and he attended a few of my games as well. He witnessed the fun that I was having, and so he decided to start playing hockey too. I started by taking him to a couple of public skate sessions to show him a few hockey skate maneuvers. And here's Ian after his very first pickup game at Kent Valley Ice Center. After my Learn to Play Hockey class ended in mid-April, I enrolled in a 3-on-3 Pond Hockey League. Pond Hockey offers more puck time, fewer rules, and the chance to play in every position simultaneously throughout the game. Not to mention, it is an intense workout because there are fewer players and a lot more ice to chase the puck around. In early June, after following the success of the Las Vegas Golden Knights playoff run, I decided to go to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals in Las Vegas. And here are a few pictures of me at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas at Game 5, where the Washington Capitals clinched their first Stanley Cup win in franchise history. It was an amazing experience, to say the least. I even lost my voice that night. The energy was so epic. Part of my goal of enrolling in hockey, not only to have something to look forward to, was to make new friends. Over the years, friends and I had drifted apart, either through relocation or general growing up. And I'm quite pleased with the number of new friends that I've made through hockey and the new friends that I continue to make. I'm having a blast meeting these new friends, learning their life story, and hearing about their own hockey journey. I wanted to say thank you to my family and friends who were there to encourage me, motivate me, and support me in this incredible journey. Without the generous support of my parents, I may never have pursued hockey as aggressively as I did. And for those that know me, it's kind of all that I talk about now. I am very obsessed with hockey, and anytime it gets brought up, I just light up like a Christmas tree. It's something that I'm very passionate about. In conclusion, hockey has been life transforming for me in such a positive way, and I look forward to every moment that I get on the ice. I'm continuously finding ways to get more involved with Andy and the GSHL by partnering with him even further, as well as other junior hockey leagues and coaches around the area. There's a number of projects that I'm working on, such as marketing materials, websites, player development videos for private one-on-one coaching. There's so much that I'm doing and involved in now. It's very self-fulfilling, and I'm just having a blast with it. The goal and intent of this video blog is to help motivate others to pursue and discover a hobby or something that you are passionate about, because it can truly change your life. And I just wanted to say thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a great time putting it together, and I look forward to sharing it and looking back upon it a year or two down the road to see how I've developed over the years. Again, thanks for watching.